Welcome to the Family Holiday Destinations podcast, where we inspire your next family adventure and unpack the trends shaping how families travel today. I'm Jessica Palmer, mother of two and founder of Family Holiday Destinations. And today we're chatting about how family travel is evolving from private cruise islands to resort-style caravan parks right here in Australia. Because if you've been planning a trip lately, you've probably noticed things are changing. Families still want to travel, but we're looking for more value, better experiences, and something that actually feels worth it. Before we jump into today's chat, let's take a quick look at what's happening in the world of family travel right now. First up, Royal Caribbean's new private island in Vanuatu. From 2027, Aussie families will be able to visit Royal Beach Club Lilipa, a brand new all-inclusive private island experience designed specifically for cruisers departing from Australia and New Zealand. Now, this isn't just another stop on a cruise itinerary. This is Royal Caribbean's first private destination in the Southern Hemisphere, and it's a pretty big shift in how cruise holidays are evolving. We're talking dedicated family beach zones, kids' activities, snorkeling, kayaking, all-inclusive dining, and basically a full resort-style experience without ever leaving your cruise. Why this matters? It really blurs the line between a cruise and a resort holiday. And for families, that means less planning, fewer surprise costs, and a much more seamless experience. And the second story is a bit of a fun one. Sweden is literally giving away a private island experience. Visit Sweden has launched a global competition where you can win access to your own Swedish island for a year. You don't get to keep it forever, but still not bad. All you have to do is submit a 1-minute video explaining why you deserve it. Why this is interesting? It taps into something we're seeing more and more. People are chasing unique, once-in-a-lifetime experiences, not just holidays, but stories. And actually, both of these stories tie into a much bigger trend we're seeing right now. Both Australian and USA families still want to travel, but we're being a lot more intentional about how we do it, whether that's choosing better value, more meaningful experiences, or trips that just feel easier to manage. Which brings me to today's guest, Elyssia Kelly, co-founder of Trentham Waters Resort in Mildura, a project she's brought to life alongside her husband, racing car driver Rick Kelly. Instead of the traditional no-frills caravan park, they've created something that feels more like a destination in itself, blending a Palm Springs-inspired aesthetic with a relaxed Murray River setting. So today, we're chatting about how it all came together, what makes it different, and why we're starting to see a shift towards more lifestyle-led caravan parks here in Australia. Elyssia, I'd love to start at the beginning. You've had a pretty unique career journey from media and television to now developing a resort-style holiday park. Can you tell us a bit more about how Trentham Waters came about?
It's funny, when you look at your life and your career and you go through school, and I studied media communications because I worked in media from when I was 4. There isn't really any rhyme or reason behind my life. Like, it's really quite bizarre. I have a philosophy where if a door opens, you walk into it, because life is all about opportunities. And I've been so lucky to have so many opportunities within the media space, because that was my passion, presenting and writing and doing all those bits and pieces. So in my previous life, it was all about presenting and cameras and light, makeup and, all that kind of thing. And then meeting Rick, he was racing cars. So I did a little bit of motorsport media for a while there and writing for different magazines. But cars aren't my passion. I've got to be honest. It's not where I am. But we started a race team, and Rick and I worked in the commercial department, so working, really closely in bringing brands into that space and looking after them. Because, to be fair, a lot of the time we didn't have the pace to be running up the front, so we needed to come up with different commercial options to keep the brands interested and loyal to us. So we had
absolutely.
Bringing colour to that space that wasn't necessarily car related. It was all from a commercial perspective to put our brand forward. And I think in doing that for, it was well over 10 years, we learnt so much in that space that we could bring to Trentham. Not only did we have, really close relationships with different brands that are now on board with us in a lot of different capacities, whether it was building the resort or, different brands that are going to be bringing their products into the space in terms of, Malibu boats were a really great sponsor of Rick. So, we've been able to carry those relationships through because we do have such a passion for maximising that space, not just for us, but for the people that have come along for the ride. So, Rick and I have always been caravanners. We started off in a combi.
Yes.
We did a lot of travel in the combi, which was cool with our 2 dogs. And then obviously things progressed when you have children and
yes, I know all about that.
So we did a lot of travel, particularly during COVID, because when COVID hit, the Supercars Championship needed to hit the road. We had to get across from Victoria into South Wales. So half the field was in Queensland and half the field was in Victoria. So all the Victorian teams had to cross the border, and of course we weren't allowed to come back down. So, it was a huge task because we, a team of sort of 25 people trying to accommodate and transport everyone around the country, not knowing when we could come home. So Rick and I made the decision to get a 13-foot caravan and just hit the road and live in that for as long as we had to stay away from home for with our son. So we really experienced the best and the worst of Australian caravanning. And so in the background, we had this land that we had planned to build a caravan, just a basic caravan park on with a kidney-shaped pool, no restaurant, just a caravan park. And I don't know exactly how it evolved to where it was. We did a lot of travel through Palm Springs, and we loved the architecture and the colour and the vibrance of that place. And
I can see that from the resort. It's really stand out. It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's lots of colour and lots of unexpected moments in there because, if you have a look geographically where Mildura is located, it's not really close to anywhere. So whilst our initial plans were just to build a caravan park, we quickly realised that it wasn't enough to get people to travel there because Mildura already has some beautiful caravan parks. Like, there's so many dotted around the town and on the river, and so we wanted to bring something different to that region. So whilst we were in Palm Springs, we started building a playlist on Spotify, and that is really the initial building block of the entire resort was this playlist. And we stayed at a place called the Ace Hotel in Palm Springs, and we loved it. And their music, it was the music that really changed everything. So we're like, right, we'll just start with the playlist.
Oh, I'm going to need a copy of this playlist.
Played right through the resort. We have rocks that are actually speakers through all the gardens, and it's in the restaurant.
Oh, that's amazing.
We have a lot of people comment on it because it's not a playlist that places you in a particular time or location. It's not top 40 hits. It's not something. It's a vibe, and it makes you feel something. And of all the things in the resort that I walk through, and particularly now that we can walk through and it's, nearing completion, it's the music that gets me every time. And I love that because that's sort of where we started.
I love that narrative. I really do. Yeah. My career has been very vast as well. So when I finished school, I actually studied music at university through correspondence, and I was a singer for many years. So I just love that. I love that music has shaped this whole resort. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who you are, what demographic you come from, what your life experience is. Music speaks to everybody, and it's picking a style that doesn't alienate anyone,
Yes.
It's actually not an easy thing to do, but somehow the resort has kind of grown its own playlist. Like, we keep adding music to it, and it's very much owned by the resort, not us. Like, the resort has a heartbeat. Like, it really does have a personality.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So caravan parks have traditionally been pretty simple, like you mentioned before. So no frills, places to stay. And especially once you move away from the coast, there's not a whole lot of special away from the coast. So what made you think, let's do something completely different here? Was it just a way to stand out?
I think by nature, we've always liked doing things differently. It's, when you look at the theory of comedians, they put forward a story in a different way so that it's funny and entertaining. And it's not dissimilar to that, because when you break it down, the resort, when you go to any caravan park, you want it to be clean and you want to be made to feel welcome. And so if we pare back the resort and all the colour and all the bits and pieces, that's really at the basis of what we wanted to create. Because in a lot of, I'll never forget, there was somewhere on the coast in northern Queensland when we were on our COVID trip, and we stayed. It was a great park. It was on the water. It was basic, but again, clean.
Yeah.
The two ladies who ran the caravan park were so grumpy, and we wanted to extend our stay for one more night. Mm-hmm. And we drew straws as to who would go and ask these ladies.
Oh, no.
They were so grumpy. And it's a running joke between us, because my husband and our friend that we were traveling with ended up parking out the front of reception playing One More Night by Phil Collins to try and soften the blow of asking if we could extend our stay. And that always stuck in my head, because you can have the nicest place in the best location, but if you're made to feel a certain way when you're staying there, you may as well be in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
So,
especially when people are paying for the service, because you do straight away. If someone's rude, then you just well, stuff it. I don't want to stay here. I'm not giving you my money. That's how you feel, It
could be the nicest resort or caravan park, but if you're made to feel a certain way, you're never going to go back. And for us,
absolutely,
having an understanding of the cost of living and the sacrifices that people make to be able to travel these days, what was the most important thing to us is firstly providing that experience where people feel like their spend is worthwhile, and they've enjoyed that small moment of their lives. Like, if you can make somebody's day better, it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. If you can elevate somebody's day in some way, then you should absolutely do it. And so everything in the resort has been based around that. So the facilities, we had the capacity to bring a lot of colour in. And if you're building something, it doesn't cost any more to create a white space than what it does to create something that's vibrant and fun. So
absolutely.
We took all those elements that we could create moments of surprise and joy for people, and we just went for it.
Oh, fantastic. Do you think families are starting to expect more from their holidays now, even when it comes to caravan parks and regional stays?
Absolutely. I think, again, that the whole COVID situation changed the landscape of the way people travel, particularly domestically. And there's a lot of conflict going on in the world, and people are wanting to holiday in their own backyard. So, expecting to have a greater experience domestically, I think is definitely there. And there are a lot of resorts and parks popping up that recognise that. So the space is really, growing for people to have an elevated holiday experience, domestically.
Absolutely.
It's particularly, for caravanners, if you have a look at the cost of buying a caravan now. It's a huge investment. So
Yes.
I think it kind of goes hand in hand where you're buying this amazing caravan that is a home on wheels. Like, they're incredible inside. So then, of course, people will be expecting, to take this amazing home on wheels to some incredible locations. And whilst a lot of those are free camping, and I love that you can, go and stay on the water and have all these amazing experiences as a free camp. I think a lot of people are also wanting a chop out from that to have all the facilities and the.
Oh, they absolutely are. Yes, I'm the same. That's how I see Trentham Waters. You'll have people that are free camping for a bit, and then you get to a point where you're just like, no, I can't do this anymore. and then you go and stay, for a week or two at the lovely resort.
Yeah. And it's just such a fun place to be. Like, every corner has colour in it. We have a macaw called Tango, and he free ranges around the resort, and he brings, so much colour, and he's a really great representative of our whole brand ethos. He's just an amazing, amazing bird he's just so much fun. So every single little corner has got a little splash of colour and fun, which I love.
So what's his name again?
His name's Tango. So he's just a
Tango.
baby.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's been hand raised. He was born on the 1st of November. So he's quite a big bird, but I believe he's going to get a fair bit bigger. But he's so friendly and cuddly and needy. He's exactly like having a dog. It's crazy. He rolls around in the grass, and he's hilarious.
So Trentham Waters has a mascot already.
We do. We call him, so we have beautiful Pina, who works as a concierge at the resort. So Tango definitely has a place on that concierge team because he does welcome everybody.
Oh, that's cool. So Mildura probably isn't the first place that comes to mind for families when they're planning a holiday. What drew you to Mildura, and what do you see in it?
Oh, gosh, me personally, I've been going to Mildura for over 20 years. So Rick, my husband, he was born in Mildura and his family lived there. So he has really strong ties to that location. But for him personally, when we were creating this, the whole project, he really drew back to when he first started in racing. And he and his brother both were race car drivers, and it's a really hard space to get into. It's an expensive space to get into, and his family didn't necessarily have the funding to kind of go up in the levels, and the town gave so much to Rick and his brother within that space. Like, they really, it was such a great support for them. And they, of course, got to the top of Australian motorsport. So for Rick, he wanted to give back to the community, and he's really very passionate about that. So, whilst we could have built it anywhere, there was never any other location that Rick considered, because he really thought that there was a space that he could, give back support to the town. But Mildura itself, people don't tend to think of it as a holiday location, but there's a really niche market for your water skiers and your wakeboarders. Yeah. The river is absolutely spectacular. Echuca is, a really popular place for Melbourne people to go because it is a fair bit closer, but Mildura is a really beautiful place to go, and the river, in my opinion, and not being biased, is one of the best stretches of the Murray, particularly where we're on a couple of kilometres of riverfront. So, the capacity to look after the skiing and wakeboarding community there. We've got jetties, and we're putting in a sandbar and private boat ramp, and it really does look after the boating community, whether you're into fishing or water sports. So obviously the culinary experience in Mildura is amazing. There's so much fresh produce and beautiful food. It's one of those places that people will go, okay, let's try it. We'll just go and see. And then they keep coming back, year on, year out, because it's just...
Mildura is like a food bowl for the region, isn't it?
It really is.
Am I correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got so many incredible restaurants, and vineyards are amazing, and the orange orchards, and it's a really beautiful place to go from a food perspective.
That's fantastic. So when a family arrives at Trentham Waters, what do you want their first impressions to feel like?
We were pretty clear on that vision, actually, because it is a long drive to get there, and you do drive through a lot of nothingness. There's a lot of desert, and we wanted the wow factor when people drive through those gates, because obviously the kids are complaining in the car, and as parents, we're like,
They are.
when are we going to get there? And literally every single person that comes into the reception is like, oh my gosh, like, wow. And I remember the last time over the long weekend, I was sitting at reception and I had Tango on the back of my chair, and the girls were checking in this lovely family, and the lady's like, I can't believe this. And then she's seen Tango on the back of my chair. She's like, are you kidding me? It's just a real sense of being transported somewhere else. You could be anywhere in the world when you drive through those gates. And that's really what we wanted to create, that transportive kind of feeling where, you know, we have a lot of people from Mildura stay with us. So they drive 15 minutes down the road, and we're like, wow, like we feel like we've gone overseas, or we've gone to Queensland, or we don't actually know where we've gone, what's just happened, because it's just such a unexpected surprise when you drive to the gates.
And that just tells us that Mildura has a lot to offer as well, that people who live there are happy to holiday there in Mildura.
Especially now with the cost of fuel and everything going through the roof. We've had so much support from the local community, which has been amazing. Like we've had a lot of guests return 2 or 3 times already. We've only been open since the 15th of December. So they've been so supportive to have something where they don't have to drive, they don't have to get on a plane. It's just an escape that's just down the road.
Oh, that's amazing. It really is. Was there a moment during the build when you thought this is actually going to be something really special?
There were a few moments. We've had a few moments in the build. Obviously, it's taken so many years, and it took such a long time, and we had delays because of weather and getting materials and bits and pieces. But Rick had such a clear vision for the place, which I couldn't see from a structural point of view. I've got a video of him standing on the blank red dirt with the plans going, the breezeway's going here and the restaurant's going here, and this is what this is going to look like, and there's going to be these palm trees. And I'm like, I didn't quite see his vision. And it's funny, we've got river retreats which are dotted down in the bushland on the river that aren't open yet, but they should be online in a few months. But we built one of those as a prototype, because, you know, building something of this size, it was just a work site. It's like building
messy for ages,
when does it start looking like a house? And this went on for years. And so we built this river retreat, and it was amazing. We did all the interiors, and it was something for us that we could look at and have a visual representation of where we were headed. And then that was there for a couple of months, and the floods came through and took it away.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they are all of the river retreats are built to be removable, but this one didn't get removed. So that was a real moment for us, and there it is, and there it goes.
Yes.
But really, I think when we started putting colour into the resort, so Rick did all the building, and my colleague Melanie and I were then tasked with bringing the personality in, and the colour and the styling items and the.
So is that all yours and Melanie's doing? Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
well, you're very talented. Yeah, I just assumed you had hired, you know, like some kind of designer to do all that. It's so beautiful.
We had help with the restaurant in some ways, and then we had help with the villas. But because all of that design, the project really evolved a lot, particularly in the last couple of years, and we had help probably 4 years ago with some of the design. But by the time we came to, you know, bringing the colour in, our intent had changed so much. Like the project had taken on a life of its own. So Melanie and we had worked in interior design in the marketing space for some time. So we were really lucky to have had that experience to then be able to shift our views and the colours and all the items that we put in there. And, you know, it's one thing to style a house, but styling a resort, it's a completely it's all got to be commercial grade, and what you like someone else might not like, and everything we've done has been so different in terms of colour and style. So it's actually been a really, really fun journey, but a huge journey. But we've really enjoyed it.
It absolutely looks like you've hit the nail on the head too. Like when I first saw the pictures, the first thought that came to mind was Palm Springs before I had read it. And so I just think it's amazing that you've managed to achieve that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the compulsion to go for the predictable Palm Springs, which can be quite tacky,
Yes,
it's
it can.
down that road and bring in all the colours and really make a mess of it. We've been pretty cautious in sort of staying as true as we can to, the mid-century modern style rather than the
You have to do what the Australian audience would like, as opposed to the American version of Palm Springs.
Needed to sort of also sit nicely in the space. So,
Yes.
it sits in, a lot of red dirt and there's so much natural bushland on site. So it needed to have that Palm Springs vibe. We didn't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. Like what are they actually doing? So we've worked quite hard to draw in the colours and the textures in the environment that we were in.
Yeah.
But slanting it a different way so that we could still have that Palm Springs flavour.
It's amazing. How do you think a development like this changes a place like Mildura, not just for visitors, but for the local community as well?
Oh gosh, like I'd hate to speak for the local community because I don't live there. I do love being there and I do spend a lot of time there. But from talking to the many guests that have stayed locally, I feel like they're really proud to have this in their region. And we've had so much interest from all around Australia, different media outlets and people wanting to know more about it. And I think from what the guests have said, they're really proud to have this, that they can tell their friends to come and stay. Because I suppose, living in Mildura, the natural thing is to, if you're going to catch up with family interstate, you go to Sydney or Melbourne, you'll catch up with them, somewhere that's a little more convenient or has something to offer the kids and all the bits and pieces. But I think now a lot of the families that I've spoken to, their families are now travelling from interstate to Mildura, their home, and they have somewhere nice to stay that
show off the area.
And it's an experience staying at Trentham Waters. It's not just a roof over your head and a pool to swim in. Like the whole thing is an experience that you, in my opinion, you can't get anywhere else in Australia. I really think we have created something that it's not just about the resort, but the people within the resort that are working on our team. They are the most phenomenal group of men and women who are so committed to delivering an elevated holiday experience to every single guest. And if you have a look at, our Google reviews, which I'm incredibly proud of, every single one of them brings up how welcome they felt and how amazing the team are. And that really is the jewel in our crown, is the team that we have at the resort.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think this is where holiday parks in Australia are heading, like more comfort, more experience and more destination-led stays?
I think so, to a certain degree. I do believe that it will grow in that space. But, for me, I do still love going around, Australia and staying in the traditional caravan parks if they're clean and it's friendly. I love staying in a place that is really true to its location and its heritage. And I don't really think that they're all, every caravan park is going to, change and grow, and, they might not have the capacity to do that anyway. I still think that there is a space for every caravanning experience. But I do think that, the expectation of somewhere clean, safe, and enjoyable for a family, like I think that will definitely be elevated as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially as housing affordability gets worse and more people make the shift to say, well, stuff it, I can't afford $1 million house, but I can afford a caravan. Absolutely. I agree.
And the life experience that comes with that, the amount of families that are doing laps and homeschooling their children. And it actually gives me goosebumps talking about it, because it's such a fantastic experience. You have your children in that space for such a short period of time, and being able to now have the capacity to just do it. And there's so many families doing it. I just love it. If I could, and I would like to think we will be able to at least do a year doing a lap before our son's too old. I just think there is so much more to work
before
on.
they don't want to.
Yeah, I know, right? Before they don't get in the bunks anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, the capacity to learn about life is there outside the classroom. You can still do your homeschooling and just learn so much more about living and our beautiful country. I'm really passionate about it.
Oh, excellent. So one last question. For families listening who've never considered Mildura, what's something about the region that might genuinely surprise them?
I mean, I can only talk from my experience. I just love the history of the place, and I love the cultural. There's so much cultural depth there. And, going through the town and experiencing the different cuisines and the orange orchards and the vineyards and, they've been there for such a long period of time, and the passion from the community and the growers for the region. I'm really proud of Mildura because it's a place for me that has so many elements of surprise. And I love nothing more than turning up somewhere and being surprised, because
absolutely.
Travel around the world and when you go to Paris, there's all the expected pieces, whereas Mildura, you turn up and you're just like, wow, there's so many wow elements to that location. And just, I guess,
and you have not one but two of the art installations by internationally acclaimed artist Bruce Munro now as well. So obviously other people see more in the region as well. They see that it has something to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so excited. So FOSO is launching on Good Friday, so that's on the New South Wales side of the border, and we cannot wait to go and see it. It's going to be an explosion of light and sound, and I've been to the Field of Lights in Uluru, and it's
same
a special place. So I'm really really excited to see what Bruce has worked on the New South Wales side. It's going to be really exciting, and of course there's the installation on the big side, which is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. You know what? That's all the questions I've got. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
One of the things that really stood out to me from this conversation was how much of Trentham Waters is built around experience. Not just the facilities, but how people actually feel when they arrive. Elyssia talked about everything from the music playing across the resort to those little design touches, all aimed at creating that wow moment after a long drive. And what I found interesting is that it's not just about making something look good. It's about responding to how families are travelling now. Families are expecting more, not necessarily luxury in the traditional sense, but better experiences, more thoughtful design, and a feeling that the trip is actually worth it. And that really lines up with what we're seeing across the travel industry right now, whether it's a private island in Vanuatu or a resort-style caravan park in regional Victoria. The common thread is this: travel has become experience-driven. It's not just about where you go anymore. It's about how it feels when you get there. All right, so before we wrap up, my quick practical tip this month is for those of you thinking about doing an iconic Disney California trip. As you can guess, accommodation next to the park is at a premium price, and Disney tickets are already super expensive when you're buying for a family. My tip is to consider staying at a mid-range hotel just a block or two away. We stayed at the Best Western Plus Pavilions in Anaheim, and the price difference between this and the more luxury resorts right next to the Disney park is staggering. There was nothing wrong with staying here. It was a perfectly comfortable, clean, and spacious room that's still close enough to walk to the park. They even give you a voucher for free breakfast at the Denny's next door. If you want to learn more about this accommodation option near Disney in Anaheim, you'll find a link to our review in the show notes. Sometimes a simple priority decision, like choosing mid-range accommodation over 5-star, makes a huge difference to your overall budget, leaving more for those fun experiences. So that wraps up our chat about how family travel is evolving, from private islands to resort-style stays closer to home. I'm sure there are many other great experiences out there to be had, and we would love to hear some of yours. Thanks for joining me on this journey through family travel trends and new holiday ideas. I hope this chat has inspired you to explore them with your family. For more tips and detailed guides, head on over to the Family Holiday Destinations website at familyholidaydestinations.com. And until next time, happy travels and enjoy making those family memories.